Welcome to Strut Garage. My name's P, and in this video today we're going to be talking about our rear-wheel drive, turboed, slammed, custom, stupid-ass RAV4. I don't even know. Enjoy.
I can't remember what I was going to say now.
Literally saying. One thing I do want to start off by saying is the RAV started off as a joke.
The RAV was basically, we got it for scrap. Was it 40 quid? And apparently it didn't drive. So we went up to it, and then the first thing we were going to do was just take the cat off and then take it straight into the scrap. And then we had a look at it, and the cat's on the manifold, so I was like, brilliant, just drive it back to the workshop because I've got more tools back here. So we drove it back, well, P drove it back, and yeah, diff literally hanging out of it.
It was making such a noise, but it still drove. It drove lovely.
So I took the cats off, started it up, did the typical christening, smashed the limiter from cold, sounded fucking sick.
Fucking made it somehow. Fuck all fuel.
Sounded like a K20, and I was like, hold on a sec, this thing's revving out real nice and it sounds sick. We were sat about like having some pizza, and I started looking at cheap turbos, and yeah, and then I got left unattended for a couple of hours with the MIG welder. And basically we ended up using Jap Speed SR20 top mount manifold that I had for spare for my SR20. And we used spare Garrett T04E, which is like an old Sierra Cosworth turbo. T3 flange, it's like the modern day equivalent of a 2871.
Camera knock it through, bend it a bit.
We just made that happen. No wastegate, just like all straight to the exhaust housing for the turbo. No exhaust either.
I think it needs an exhaust.
I just cross-threaded a Honda CB, I think it was a CB 500 front brake pipe into the oil pressure switch hole. Gave the turbo an oil feed. I don't even think it had an oil drain at this point. It was just literally coming out the bottom of the turbo. And we were like, right, let's go blow it up, because
Obviously it's going to blow up.
yeah. So yeah, still with the diff hanging out of it. Basically the input shaft bearing of the diff's gone. So the input shaft was moving around in the diff, and then as it was, the inside the diff there's a crown wheel and a pinion gear, and the pinion gear kept moving away from the crown wheel and skipping teeth, and then as the prop shaft would oscillate round, and it would catch it again. So it was like intermittent drive. It sounded like so bad.
Hey man,
Yeah.
stick your head under your earpods.
Go on, give it a fucking wiggle.
Took up the road, no idea how much boost, but obviously all of it, because there's no wastegate at all, so it's just all of the exhaust going straight through the turbo. And yeah, it basically wheelied. And like,
So
like
That's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
That is mint. fine.
First to first, maybe? Fucking hell! It needs a dip!
When I got going then.
That dip is gonna explode. That's fucking mad.
We had our mate Louis in the back with no back seats, just like a van in the back. It's always been like that.
It was just squatted in the back, wasn't it?
Yeah, as it spalled, it pretty much wheelied and he just came airborne and then just hit the back door and nearly took the back door of the RAV off. And like,
Oh, it was so good.
the thing just absolutely shredded up the road and then cut out, obviously like fuel cut.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that was uninteresting. I wanted to see the head come through the bonnet, or I wanted to at least see a hole in the block or something. We'll start it back up, runs mint, drove it back down, like hit a good few times on the way back down. Looking back on that, I don't know how much boost that would be, but you know, it's like an old, fairly inefficient turbo, but it's still probably like between 1 and 2 bar boost, basically, I reckon. Obviously, I don't know, there's no gauge on it. And yeah, just took it, drove in the yard, just sat there purring. So I was like, right, we actually need to do something with this engine now. Done a compression test on it, looked for the factory specs. I think it's about I think it's like 185 per cylinder, and this was like around 181 across all four. So we're like, well, it's healthy, and we haven't hurt it, and we haven't hurt the head gasket. Yeah, we put a wastegate on it, put an exhaust on it, and then run half a bar spring for a bit. ECU basically just learned, and then we'd gently turn the boost up over time.
Yeah, it's not on standalone ECU. It's something that people ask me all the time. It's stock. You haven't done anything. You can't do anything to that ECU anyway.
Yeah, like electronically, just totally stop.
Yeah.
Like stock injectors. At first, when we were running it on that half a bar, it was just completely bone stock, just plus boost, which was like unbelievable that it was fine. I wanted to turn it up a bit because, like, obviously when I drove it ungoverned, it was mental, and then on half a bar, it's well tame. So I put 4.9 LMU and AAM wideband gauge on it, and we changed the fuel pump to Walbro 255, just in tank, swapped the pump. It's still deadhead rail at this point, and still stock injectors. Round, right?
Like that, sort of, ish, maybe.
Yeah, run it up the road, and we just kept turning the boost up and up and up until we got to about, a Gredi Profect B boost controller with 3-port Mac valve, so that we could turn the boost up, because that was just spare off of the SR. We got up to about 11 pounds of boost, and it started to fuel cut, and at that point the AFRs were risky, but they weren't too risky in my opinion. I think they're like the worst we've seen was about 15.5 on like wide open throttle at like 11 pounds of boost. So we turned it down to 9, and then obviously it had learned. Like I don't know if it's like a Toyota thing or just like a RWD thing, but it had learned. So then AFRs all the way through the rev range at that point on 9 pounds of boost, like 13, 14, which whatever. At this point, still don't really give a shit about this car. So, but that looked like fairly sustainable. It's not like it's going to get its absolute ass handed to it every day.
No, I was just going to use it as a daily, because my daily at the time, I bent the chassis, so I didn't actually have anything to drive. And I was like, I really like this car, but I'd quite like to daily it, so
Yeah.
hence we made it work.
So on that setup then, that was with the wastegate dump pipe out the bonnet still.
Wow, that was... Wow! That was...
around 4,000 miles like that. Giving it like an increasing amount of abuse every day to the point where we were literally just abusing it for fun by the end. Yeah, if you've never had a wastegate like out the bonnet for a road car, wouldn't recommend. Like just stinks the whole time.
It's horrible.
And grease up the windscreen all the time. The flames are cool. Like flames on the limiter are cool. That's the only good thing about it. The rest of it's shit. And actually, on 4-cylinder open wastegate, like with not that much boost, sounds pretty shit.
Yeah, it wasn't a vibe. Hence why it's not got,
the bonnet screamer still. We replumbed wastegate. Ram Air sent us a new filter and intake pipe. Funk sent us some better heat management and a blanket for the turbo. We wrapped the wastegate dump. I re-entered it into the downpipe, put a flexi in the downpipe because it kept cracking, then wrapped all the way as far as I could before the road gets to it, basically. And then that's how it's basically stayed now, on around between sort of 10 and 12 pounds boost. Still completely untuned. Like, still stock injectors, stock everything except for a fuel pump. But I haven't changed the pressure or anything, I haven't changed the regulator. Obviously I took the AFR straight back off because I only lent it to it. It's not staying on it. Yeah, still Gredi Protec B Spec 2 boost controller, which is just old school. It just came on my car when it was imported, which I don't use. So that's just on there still, and that just gets the boost in nice and early as well.
One thing that we did have to change was the location of the map.
Oh yeah.
Because it would drive fine, but if you came up to a junction or anything, it would just turn off. It would always turn back on again, but it was like the map wasn't reading correctly, so we had to relocate the map.
It was stalling out because I had it in front of the turbo, and because I just put it behind the air filter, and I just put it with the air filter and everything and just stuffed it on the front of the turbo. And then when we changed to the Ram Air, and then we moved the MAF back to the intake manifold again where it's factory location, and blew through the MAF, and then it was completely fine then.
Yeah.
Literally drives like OEM, which is banging.
Yeah. Another thing that people ask is about the suspension setup. How did we get it so low? Obviously, at the time when we did it, there was no aftermarket like coilovers or anything for a RAV4. There is now. You can get it from BC. You can just get them off the shelf, bolt them on, and then your RAV's lowered. Won't be as slammed as ours, but it will still be quite, reasonably low for a RAV4.
Well, it could be as standard as ours if you use a welding.
Yeah, wouldn't recommend. Yeah, so originally on the front, after it did about 3,000 or 4,000 miles of like reliable driving, I said it'd be really funny to slam it because everyone always lifts trucks and we like stuff really low. So why don't we have the RAV4 really low? And I actually went to work and came back and the RAV was slammed.
Baby, you just need to sit for me.
So I had 10 coilovers from an S14 on the front, which was 10 Super Street, which were already blown up. Then they didn't go low enough. We had them as low as they would go. So then we ended up changing to Meister R coilovers, which we got for P's S14, put them straight on the RAV4. And they had camber adjustable top mounts, which I actually clocked and gave the RAV a little bit more caster because there wasn't enough adjustment to actually increase the camber to any noticeable amount. So I increased the caster instead because as we lowered it, the front wheels ended up quite like almost like a shopping trolley, and you had like not a very positive turn in because we've lowered it considerably.
That's hilarious.
Like it got to the point where it needed more car-like geometry and less truck-like geometry, so adding some caster basically just massively improved the feel of how it turns into corners, like really a lot, to be fair, wouldn't it? It completely changed it, like as if it was like a car. The S14 coilovers aren't a direct fit, but I'm pretty sure all I did was just elongate the holes on the bracket where the coilover bolts to the knuckle, I'm pretty sure I just elongated the hole slightly and then it bolted straight on. And the top mount actually bolts in 2 of the holes, and then I just had to relocate one of them. And then the top mount, S14 top mount's bolted in as well. And OEM hardware, still the same size, everything just fitted like that. Yeah, Maestro R coilover was pretty decent. I mean, that's the first time I've ever used them. I don't really know anything about them, but we got them for the S14 just to get it rolling. And they've been banging, haven't they? And they've got heaps more adjustment than the Tames. So like, how we run it at, like on the road is actually ridiculously low. Like, we measured, at one point we could measure it on, like in a car park on brand new tarmac, sat level, subframe to the tarmac, I think it was 11 mil. So like, bear in mind that's like your pinky on its flat, the height of it is, and that's how we were running it the whole time, basically. And then like, we managed to lower the rear more because I tubbed the body, moved the plastic arches up the body a little bit. I modified the spring perch, moved it up inside the car a couple of inches, took away the bump stop completely, and then put a custom spring in, which was like, the stock spring on the back of the RAV is about, I think it's about 12 or 14 inches long. And I think the rear springs that we've got in the RAV, which is just Faulkner, just custom springs, are about, would you say, about 6 or 7 inches long?
Yeah, not very long.
And then to make them have enough travel and to realign them, because they dislocated, because they were normally like so long, and then they would have their range of movement here, and then we've already lowered it up to there. The mounts are actually dislocated, so that's one of the reasons I had to modify it to keep everything in line. Then the rear shock brackets went outside of their range of, like, they misaligned as well. And they wanted to point the struts into the body like this, so I made new rear shock mounts which uprighted them again so that they actually point up to their towers.
Yes, prior to lowering it more now, it was on...
John Cooper Works mini Bilstein rear dampers,
So it was,
Faulkner springs, and Meister R S14 front coilovers, whereas now it actually has Pro Sport MX5 rear dampers, which are even shorter again, with a custom bump stop as well. And then we were able to get the spacer packer that I had in the spring, because the Faulkner spring that I ordered, obviously I ordered it a bit keen and it was a bit too short. So I made a packer for it, like a cushion, a bit like E36s have, like a rubber pad. And now we've taken that out, and then now it's the lowest that it's ever been at the back. So the skirts are pretty much on the floor. But underneath, the diff and the fuel tank and the tow bar as well, I think are about, probably, I think they're about 16 or 17 mil last time we like quickly measured.
yeah,
Like,
which is pretty low.
and then the front is still the same. The front is about 12 mil. From the subframe to the road.
It's so low, it actually doesn't have any space for the exhaust to exit out the back.
Yeah, that's the only problem that we've run into now, is to get it to look how we want it. Then the way that the rear subframe is designed and how close it is to the fuel tank, there's not actually anywhere for the exhaust to go. Obviously, being a truck, then there's enough space under there to put it wherever they want it. So they pretty much just went to the back.
Yeah.
And now there's we're at a problem where we can't drive it until we've obviously put an exhaust on it. And there's nowhere to put it. And I can't put it out the sill and turn it into a two-seater because the fuel tank's there. And I can't put it like all the way to the back in the centre because in the tunnel is so small, it's just enough space for the prop shaft and no space for the exhaust. The exhaust originally was just completely underneath everything, and obviously now there's tarmac there.
Yeah, so it just exits basically just in front of the diff, so it is still behind us.
Yeah,
Like
it's just
exiting
that
the
comes
vehicle, but we wanted to exit out of the back, but we haven't worked that part.
comes
out yet.
over the front subframe, round some intricate bends, into an oval section, through a catalyst, through a silencer, and then just a dump, a bit like a Drift Masters car would, except for it's just in front of the diff instead of just behind the diff. And it doesn't sound very nice anymore, and I want it to come out the back of the car. But
We'll work that out another day.
yeah, at the point now where we're probably going to have to fabricate some sort of frame in the back to hold a fuel cell, remove the original tanks, so that then we've got the space to put it out of the side skirt.
Yeah, because this is not the end of the RAV. We'll just continue doing things because it's just fun and funny because it's that car.
But yeah, it's exceeded all of our expectations as far as like handling. It's done 3 drift days, and all we've ever done is rip the diff out of the floor constantly.
It's pretty annoying.
We've never broke a drive shaft, even though they're tiny. Never broke a prop shaft.
Yeah, so rear wheel drive converting it, that's another thing that people ask me all the time.
Yeah.
That is not as simple as just taking the front drive shafts out.
So, at first, I had to figure out all-wheel drive. Obviously, like all manufacturers do that differently. The general concept is similar, but with an all-wheel drive, it's essentially a front-wheel drive, and then a transfer box driven from the front-wheel drive diff by some way or another, and then that transfer box transfers this way to that way to go down the prop shaft and then drive the rear. So I split the box. I've never taken apart that type of box before. It was not the box which wanted to come apart. Like, it was like quite tricky to get it into actual bits because some of the bolts inside the box I had to get with like a cut down spanner. Like, we only separated the box casing around 1 inch, and then I had to get nuts and bolts out from inside it just to separate the box. Then we figured out that it actually has an LSD in the front, and it has also an LSD in the middle, still at the front, but it's for the front to rear split, and then also an LSD in the rear. So in order to make it rear wheel drive, I took the front diff apart, welded it. I had to machine the part which goes to the transfer case so that I had space to weld that in, and then I welded it in solid. So we ended up essentially with like a cam block setup where it was continuous, like 25% drive to each wheel. Like, all wheels were turning the same, so it was welded. Well, rear was obviously LSD, but it was getting, the drive line was getting 50% and the front was getting 50%. Then that was quite tricky as well because I had to align it in a way that it would, all of the splines would like connect back up, because putting them together after I'd weld it, normally they've got like a slipping yoke in there which would allow it to turn and connect, but because I welded it solid, I had to make sure that I welded it in the right place so that it would actually reconnect, which I was lucky with, because I only figured that out just as I was like pointing the welder at it. And then we ended up with welded front diff, welded slip joint, technically not a diff, which goes to the centre transfer case.
Here is a centre diff though, for anyone wondering. Heavy. That's the inside of a transfer. And that's your gearbox.
And then an LSD in the rear, and then I took the front shafts out, but to cap the box I still needed to cut the shaft off and then use the CV cup as a cap. So that still has a normal drive shaft seal in it, and they still spin like in the box like normal, but they're just like I machined them down to like a 10mm flange, and that just works as like a cap that stops all the oil from coming out of the box and obviously holds the diff together as well. So they go in and they're still located in their spline, still located in their circlip, and hold the oil seals, and they just spin freely on the side of the box now. And then I had to do obviously the same thing on the hubs. So cut the CV cup down, machine it down to a 10mm flange, and then that just works as like a stub axle now. So that slips into the hub like normal, and then the outside hub flange is bolted to it with the big nut in the middle like normal. There's just no shaft in between basically. So It is essentially just take the front shafts out, but obviously you can't just do that because it would just not move. Because that slip joint in the middle of the box would just spin freely then, because it would have no drive, because it's predominantly a front wheel drive car and it only employs the rear when the front spins excessively. So if you was to do that, well, we did try it, didn't we, at first? We tried it without the front shafts because obviously that's the easy thing to do, and it wouldn't move. But then if you like really nailed it, then it would suddenly employ the rear, and as soon as you lift it off, just like any other LSD, it would just open and then the rear would stop driving.
Yeah.
Which, like, that was when I knew I had to weld some stuff. But
Luckily we had a spare box, well, we had a whole spare RAV4 at the time, so we weren't worried about like breaking things or messing anything up, because we could put it back to how it used to be before if we couldn't work it out or it wasn't going to work or whatever. And yeah, we did end up breaking a couple of things on it, but once we sort of got through those teething problems, then
well, I forgot to put oil in the transfer box,
yeah, that's a big one.
so
About a mile and a half away, it conked out. We had to walk all the way back.
well, we stripped all of the teeth off of the crown wheel in the transfer case. So the first drive that we did with it, rear wheel drive, we drove up the road, instantly realised there was less rolling resistance than there was before, which was cool. Felt faster, but it also felt almost like shorter geared. But that was because it was driving, obviously, rear wheel drive compared to front wheel drive. I did a skid in it on private road testing.
Mexico.
And it fucking ripped as well. It was like, it drove completely different than how it did before.
Yeah, it skids so fast.
And then it started clicking. And then we were driving up the hill and it was ding, 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 ding. And we were like, what the fuck is that noise? Just thinking that like something in the diff just wasn't up to it. And then by the time we got to like...
halfway up the hill, not even to the top of the hill.
Yeah,
Halfway up.
Just stopped dead in the middle of the road. I couldn't move it forward or backwards. So I just sat there. Luckily it was like 3 a.m, typical. So we just sat there for 10 minutes. It had obviously cooled down, unheat seized itself, and then just started driving again. So I was like, fuck. And then we drove it back here, and then halfway up, like down the valley, did another skid. And then halfway up the other side, just stripped all the teeth off the pinion.
So we had a long walk all uphill.
And then to get a recovery truck and come down and get it. And what would normally be like a 3-minute drive was actually like a fucking hour and a half walk. Just with hills. That was fun. And then, pissed dry off. And then the next day, spent the whole entire day figuring out, taking the diff apart again, figuring out what the fuck's gone wrong. Nothing wrong. Then I took the transfer case apart, obviously full of metal, and no oil.
Yeah.
So we got a RAV update. If I just go under here. Excuse me, sir. You're not meant to be there. With this. This is a spare one we've got, so Emery's just rebuilding it after taking it apart to investigate and learn about it. That's what sheared off on the other one. We're hoping to get it off, but it's completely seized in there, so to scrap pile she goes. She's in. She's done. It's gone 3 in the morning. See if she works. Well, her does handy bees.
Yeah,
I think I've still got that video.
yeah. To be fair, there was a hole right in the back of it, but it's up against the firewall,
Yeah.
so you couldn't really see it at first, and then realised, yeah, obviously I didn't put any oil in it. I put oil in the gearbox, and I just didn't think about putting oil in there because it was behind it, and I just was late. I just wanted to go and do a skid in the RAV. So yeah, another transfer case later, and she's back out again.
Yeah. Yeah, after that we decided to take it to a drift day just for a laugh and to see how it would perform and stuff. And on our first run, Henry obviously just gave it shit. Because he was like, whatever is going to break, it needs to just break now.
You got to find the weakness
Yeah.
straight away.
And yeah, the weakness was just the.
That's so going in this video.
Oh my god. Yeah, the weakness was the rear diff. It was rubber. It was probably already a bit knackered as well, anyway.
Yeah, the OEM diff mount.
Ripped
Literally
it straight up.
It was so pathetic. It was like 2 measly rubber bushes glued to a bit of sheet metal, basically.
That is nice.
They fucked this. Ever seen?
Looks like I just twisted it. Literally ripped it right out.
Right.
I mean, the heavy duty bits are like still in there.
Yeah, it was that was meant to be like a
Heavy duty.
heavy duty one.
And it was ripped that and literally ripped it in two. And then the diff was just hanging out the bottom of the car, and we just drove back into the pit.
This drive shaft just went.
Still driving though,
Yeah.
but obviously wouldn't have done any more skids because as soon as I accelerated, the diff smashed the floor. And as soon as I lifted off, it smashed the tarmac. So slam car perks, otherwise it would have washing machined around better.
Obviously, engine didn't break, gearbox didn't break. Nothing really broke other than this really crap rubber mount.
The second one, we ran it on VP 110 with a methanol blend, just to, find the weaknesses. And yeah, engine sound the whole way through. We ripped out that diff mount as well, but it lasted nearly all day at that point. Realised that
yeah, we got a new one, didn't we? Got a new diff mount. We didn't.
heavy duty, and then ripped that one to pieces as well. But that lasted like a good 4 or 5 runs on semi slicks as well. Realised at that point the geometry from the front wheel drive car is just never going to be good for drifting.
What lock was like?
I run about 15 mil of toe out, just so that my leading wheel would have any lock at all, which obviously destroyed how it responded to Ackerman, but it did actually give us some leading wheel lock, because the first drift day we did, it was almost undrivable.
Yeah.
Still had minimal lock,
Yeah, RAV4s really don't have any lock. Worse than even a front wheel drive.
The problem with it is, as much as everyone says, just cut the knuckles. The thing is, the steering rack mounts behind the engine on the firewall. The tie rods point forward to the knuckles, and if I was to shorten the knuckles, it would give it more lock, but it would also give it positive Ackerman. So it means that every time I come on lock, one wheel would turn, the inside wheel would turn more than the outside wheel, which would feel horrendous. Which is why I've never cut the knuckles, basically. And then we can't move the rack forward because it's obviously a fucking engine there. So, it sits already so close to the transfer case as it is. There's no real estate to move it in whatsoever. So yeah, that's
Basically, if we want to make it so it's got lock, we need to change the front, probably to E36, because it feels nice.
Well, we can't even do that because the steering rack would be right through where the sun would be. So the next thing, the next version of the RAV is converting from transverse to inline. An inline 1AZ RAV4 would then allow me to put the rack wherever I want it, within reason.
Yeah.
And then we can run, E36 front suspension. It means I can cheat as well and mount the subframe nice and high up, so it won't drive like a slammed car. I can mount it as high as I want at that point because we've got loads of space under the bonnet for the engine. So I can lift it up so it's not touching the floor, and then actually end up with quite a good handling front end.
And then the rear,
We have a Sora, which would be pretty decent. So the Sora rear subframe, all self-contained, all mounts to one frame. So all I have to do is, is cut the back of the RAV whole floor out, chassis and everything off, put the Sora rear subframe where I want it, weld stuff to stuff until it's strong, make it look pretty at the end, and then it'll be Sora rear end, E36 front, inline 1AZ. We'll do the same gearbox that we're working on right now, which is our own clutch and flywheel and gearbox adapter so that we can run the E36 gearbox on a 1AZ. That'll be like a world first inline AZ drive line, which we're working on at the moment. The only downside for the RAV is that it will be a race car at that point. We won't be able to drive it on the road.
it won't be a road car anymore, so I'm making the most of it whilst it's still a road car.
Because it'll be front space frame, rear space frame, different tunnel.
Probably caged,
It will have to be
because
caged at that
that'll
point.
be terrifying.
But the plus side is, technically, could compete in Drift League with it.
Mm.
And I could definitely do things like Crusade drift demos and stuff like that with it.
Yeah, and it will still technically be a RAV4. Technically, the heart of it is still a RAV4.
Yeah, we're still going to use that engine.
Yeah. Yeah, so dumb.
Might put some rods in it this time. We're on numbered days with them rods.
They're really small.
Like this thick. Like how they haven't bent it, I have no idea. But yeah, we compression tested the RAV the other day just to see if we've actually started killing it or not. And it still makes 179, 181, 178, 180. So about 180 across all four, which is only 5 psi down from stock.
Which is good news.
Yeah.
It's not low mileage either, that RAV. We're on like 165k, I think. We've got a lot of miles on that car.
Yeah, all turbocharged.
Yeah.
Mostly getting beaten up. Yeah, loves it. Literally goes on loving life.
Yeah, so in conclusion, we've just continued to keep doing different things with the RAV, just improving it more than anything. Main questions asked is, how is it slammed? So obviously, we just used S14 coilovers and MX5 rear, and a lot of custom shit. Just go straight to BC if you want to do it.
Yeah, just hit up BC. They've
Yeah.
literally made coilovers now. So you can just go and put them on.
So easy. Manifold we made ourselves. I don't know if we'll reproduce some or not. That'll be something for Henry to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe not. We don't know. Like there are options for 2AZs.
Yeah, you can pick up a manifold for a Camry, but in America there's manifolds already available.
Yeah, so you can, get them forward or whatever.
But it says 2AZ, but from our experience now, 2AZ, 1AZ, cylinder head, identical,
Yeah.
literally identical. Slightly different cam profile in the 1AZ. But
It's not on standalone ECU. It's just stock ECU. It just
for now.
takes it somehow. And the body kit, we made it.
Yeah,
You can't buy that unless I mould it and then resell it, which I can't really be asked to do.
yeah. Body kit is an S14 Zenki Tra Kyoto Rocket Bunny version 1. So the old Rocket Bunny kit.
That's
Which-
what came on RS4.
Yeah,
when we bought it.
which looked horrible.
It was awful. I tried selling it and nobody wanted it. So,
You put it down to like 50 quid for the
Yeah.
whole kit, and no one wanted it.
so now it's on the report.
Yeah, we cut it up. We repurposed. And now, moulded it into the RAV4 front bumper and moulded the side skirts, shortened them, kind of what we did with the rear, just threw it in the bin. And cut it up, put it in the fire, I don't know, horrible thing. But the other thing that people wanted to know about was cost. So yeah, the our RAV costs 40 quid, but at the current market for a like pre-facelift NRG 16 valve is normally around 2 grand, between sort of 1,500 and 3.5 grand. Then the coilovers we picked up for 200 quid. The manifold and stuff, obviously I made all of it. We used Max Peden rods for the wastegate, which with our discount code STRUCK15 made that like so cheap. Funk Motorsport supported us with the heat management. The Greddy Profect B,
200 quid, I think.
yeah, you don't have to use that sort of boost controller, you just use a T or just none. Just run it straight to the wastegate. It's not like these engines can take, well apparently can't take that much boost anyway. So like half a bar spring, so 7 psi spring, is like near the limit anyway, apparently. It's mainly because of the rods being so small. The rear springs actually cost a fortune. Custom springs with custom radius, the height ended up being like 250 quid. Rear dampers for the mini stuff, one's about 150, but then the rear dampers for the MX-5 is also about 150, but I've actually got them for free. The main cost would be labour, I imagine.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we had to do a chassis notch. I forgot about that in the suspension. And we had to make custom rear upper radius arm, which kinked, which is like an S chassis idea, which we reused on the RAV. And that allowed us to get the hubs up past where the chassis would normally allow, where it would come up to the chassis like that. Ours are kinked, so they come right up past, which is to get it even lower. All in all, pretty cheap build. We spent the most money on wheels. Fourth set of wheels that are on there now. VSKF's being the most expensive set at the moment. But
It looks sick though. It should look like a little Hot Wheels car. I put them on there as a joke and then ended up actually running them, which was hilarious.
oh, and the paint jobs, obviously. We do a lot of paint work here, so we painted it both times. But
Yeah, it's been painted twice. It's probably about to get another one.
yeah, needs a freshen up for LZ World Tour. So don't really know what I'm gonna do yet. Probably just darken what's on there, but it just needs a freshen up.
Yeah, not really keen on the gold anymore. Gold's a bit much.
Should probably add that we have a few AZ engines now. We had some for spare for the RAV, but we never actually needed them. But because it's been so successful and every drift car's got a JZ in it these days, so we're actually building one for my PS13 that's for competition drifting next year. So if anyone wants to like learn more about this one, we're taking it about as far as I think we can go with an AZ engine, but obviously we're always looking to push the limit of things. But yeah, this one's getting built up. We're going to see how much power we can actually make out of it. So this is going to be the engine for my PS13 for next year's season. Yeah, if anyone wants to know anything about this one, we're going to see how much we can make, but the goal is to use E85, probably going to have to use nitrous, and we're hoping for 700 flywheel horsepower from this. A few custom bits going on there, a few companies coming on board, so if anyone wants to know anything about that one, just comment below and I'll go into it. But yeah, hopefully it's going to be pretty sick, a little motor.
So that's our RAV4. If you've got any other questions, pop them down below. Hopefully this video's covered everything. Gives you a bit of history on why we even started this stupid thing in the first place. It was meant to blow up. It just hasn't. And 4 years later, now we're here. Anyway, see you in the next one.